Hey everyone, my name is Natasha and I'm going to be answering a few of the questions that have come in this week through the Mark Challenge. And this is about Mark chapter 2. It's the chapter that we're reading together as a community as we read through the book of Mark in the coming weeks. And I am so excited to be able to answer a few of these questions. I've got some golden afternoon sunlight coming in. I've got a cup of tea. It's a good time. So the first question that's come in is, what are my new creation needs and hunger? That's a really good question. I think this might be more of like a personal reflection than a direct question about the text, but it did make me think about one thing that I noticed in Mark 2 as I was reading it. I feel like Mark is really pointing us to see Jesus as bringing in a new way of thinking. I think throughout the chapter, Jesus is saying to the Pharisees, your old ways of doing things are not how I'm going to be doing them. Your old ways of doing things don't serve the people that you claim to be leading. I think Jesus wanted to show the teachers of the law that their systems of power were not what he was interested in. He was doing things like eating with tax collectors, people that they would never share hospitality with. He didn't require his disciples to fast in the ways that they say were required. He picked grain, which is an example of doing work on the Sabbath, acknowledging that like the Pharisees' rules around what was allowed on a Sabbath were a departure from what God had intended the Sabbath to be for. So I think Mark is trying to show us that Jesus was inviting us, or inviting the people around him into a new way of doing things. And he gave them the example of pouring new wine into old wineskins. So when you pour new wine into an old wineskin, the wineskin can't expand with the wine as it ferments and it breaks. So it's a waste. And I think Jesus was saying that bringing his new way of doing things into all of these old systems would just break them. And that he wanted to do things differently and it wouldn't work within the systems that they had established, which were unjust. And I think that's something that Mark wanted us to see in this chapter. And so that was something I was reflecting on. I'm not sure if that's connected to the question that you were asking, but hopefully that gives you something to think about. The second question that came in, also wonderful. What does the Sabbath look like in a church community? I love this question. How can our church community participate in Jesus' invitation to the Sabbath? So first, the word Sabbath, that's referring to the last day of the week. So God made the world in Genesis, and then on the seventh day he rested. For most Jews, that's Friday from sundown until Saturday at sundown, and then on Saturday morning they spend time in the synagogue or the temple. For most Christians, we would consider Sunday to be the Sabbath because that's the day that we gather together to worship. But more casually, the word Sabbath, we kind of use that to refer to intentional, dedicated rest or pause that we have on a regular basis. So you can consider that like the practice of taking time each week to intentionally rest and feast. And that's a wonderful practice. I think that's so important. You can think of the Sabbath as like a day to pray and play. That's something that Pastor Phil had often said, pray and play. Spend time with God and then do the things that make your heart sing, whether that's on your own or with your family, with others, with friends. So as a church community, one of the things that we do on the Sabbath, obviously, is gather together to worship. I think that's a wonderful thing to do on the Sabbath. What a gift. I think another thing that as a church community it's important to do is to remind each other of the importance of the Sabbath. And it's a good time also to practice hospitality. If we know that the people in our community, in our church family, are taking time to rest and play and pray on the Sabbath, I think it opens up some avenues to do that together. And so if you know that people aren't going to be filling their Sunday afternoon with all sorts of plans, you can say, hey, I'm going to play by cooking an amazing meal. Won't you come over and join me? Or say, I love to connect with God in nature. I'm going to plan a hike. I'm going to invite a few friends. I know the pandemic does make this a little bit more tricky, but I think there's still ways to do it. So to do Sabbath well in community, I think we can invite each other and host each other in that. And hopefully in that you find connection and conversation and other things that are so good for us. On a personal level, two things that have really helped me to be more mindful about the Sabbath is to turn off my phone for part of the day and to also plan ahead and get chores out of the way first so that I'm not tempted all day to go get groceries, go do the laundry. Also, my Sabbath isn't always on Sundays because I work on Sundays, and so sometimes for my family we've said, okay, Saturday is going to be our intentional day to rest, reflect, connect with God, connect with each other, do things that we really enjoy. But for most people, Sunday is kind of the day that they would consider the Sabbath. So I love this question. I'm so thankful for the chance to encourage our church community to think about how we spend the Sabbath. And if you want to chat more about that, if you're thinking about, okay, what does the Sabbath look like for me? I would love to talk to you about that. I think it's really cool to be able to talk through that and the specific challenges that you face in practicing rest on the Sabbath. Jesus said the Sabbath was made for people, for you and me. That's what he said at the end of the chapter. And so let's receive that good gift and Sabbath well together.